Part 5 of how to make your own workout series. So let's go ahead and recap a little bit of what we've done so far. We're not going to cover everything because that's a lot of content. Watch our videos to catch up. Okay, so we've talked about training goals. We've talked about how much the time you need, the equipment and the facilities that you need, your warm-ups, and now we're talking about the workout. So of course, let's just do a real fast recap of the things that you absolutely need: training goal, the appropriate time, and a commitment to yourself. Now, a quick note on the commitment to yourself. In one of the last videos, we talked about not relying on motivation to help you get through or get to your training sessions, because they're always going to fail you. So what you need to do is create a schedule that makes it very easy for you to say yes to go to your workouts. If you know that middle of your day, you want to try to work out during your lunch break, but you know that you have pop-up meetings, or you know that things usually happen right around lunchtime, not a good idea to put your workout at that time, because it's going to be really easy to say no when something else comes up. Same thing at night. Honestly, for a lot of people, the best time to work out, hear me out, is early in the morning, right before work. There's usually nothing going on. Get up, get it done. It's off your plate. And just as an extra benefit, you can just go ahead and mark that one off your checklist. But at the end of the day, create a schedule that's going to work for you. If you're on a night shift, that might be after work at 5:30 in the morning. Just saying. We also talked about there's basically 3 different types of people when you want to talk about training. You have the people who want to be fast like falcons. Then we have people who are right in the middle. If you've ever played any of the Mario games, I'm talking specifically Mario Kart, you know that Mario is an all-around character. Yoshi's for speed, Donkey Kong's for weight. If you know, you know. So we're talking about those people right in the middle. Now, of course, on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who just want to be strong. They're usually not the fastest, or at least not for a very long time, but they're very, very strong. So we're talking about the people who are right in the middle of the road. It's a very great place to be, especially if you don't have any particular goals to run marathons or lift heavy. You just want to be able to move pain-free, look better naked, and feel good. When making your own workouts, you need to keep it simple. And one of the ways that we decided to keep it simple was to train in cycles. We have the deload, endurance, hypertrophy, and strength. And you take these through different cycles, and they can be however long you want them to be. But the example we gave was we did 3 weeks of endurance and a deload, 3 weeks of hypertrophy and a deload. You get the idea. That way, within the span of an entire year, you're going to cover each one of these cycles at least 4 times. And then you have some built-in weeks where you may go on vacation, you may get sick, you may just get lazy. We are going to get a little bit deeper into the weeds, and we're going to talk about endurance. So typically when we think about endurance, we think of endurance athletes, people who run and run and run, or bike for miles and days and hours and weeks. Yada, 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 yada. But endurance is for everyone, gang. It's not just for the person who wants to run marathons or triathlons or ultra marathons. It's for everybody. And there's really 2 different categories of endurance. There's muscular endurance and there's aerobic endurance. And again, you can really get into the weeds on that particular point right there, but don't worry about it. We're just trying to keep it simple. Time out. So what we're talking about right now is specifically training that you're going to be doing in the gym that's going to complement what you want to do for your goals, whether that be training for the big heavy lifts, which will obviously be done in the gym, or a strongman competition, or training for a triathlon or a marathon or something along those lines. Resistance training is for everybody. It's going to make your joints stronger. It's going to make you a faster, more efficient runner. And naturally, it's going to make you a better lifter. But we'll get into that part in another video. Okay, let's get back. So how we're training our endurance is going to manifest itself a little bit different from person to person depending on what you're doing. Now, let's go ahead and just, for those of you who really enjoy numbers, we're going to keep it simple. What is endurance training? What does that look like? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of a regular endurance training cycle? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So endurance training means high volume. And for the most part, especially if you're doing resistance training, that's going to be something in excess of 10 reps. depending on what you're doing. It's also low weight, which means that it's gonna be about 60% of your max, of your 1 rep max. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, we'll cover that in just a little bit. And that's not a hard set number, that 60%. That's the number that we use around Nikeo because it just helps us to define endurance, hypertrophy, and strength a little bit more specifically. But that can change depending on your programming and what you want to do. And the next thing is that it has very short rest periods. We're talking up to a minute, probably not that long. Okay, so what does aerobic and muscular endurance look like for the 3 categories we've already laid out? Let's just talk about the people who want to move fast. They want to be fast like falcons. So they're going to need a lot of aerobic endurance. That's how well your body can get oxygen to your muscles so you can keep doing what you're doing. Muscular endurance is being able to do the same motion for a long time and having the muscular strength to be able to do that. So think about running or swimming, biking or rowing. In order to do those activities, you need to have the muscular strength to do it over and over and over and over. And then we have those people who want to be right in the middle of the road. They just kind of want an all-around fitness. They're going to need a little bit more aerobic endurance, but they're still going to need a lot of muscular endurance. I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. And then we have the very far end of the spectrum, the people who want to be the weightlifters, the people who move heavy objects, the strong men, the strong women, all those categories. They really don't need a whole lot of aerobic endurance. Now, they do need a high degree of muscular endurance. Think about it like this. Muscular endurance is your body's ability to maintain good posture while you're doing whatever exercise you're doing. So for running, biking, rowing, it's obviously running, biking, rowing, swimming. You get the idea. For those who are doing middle of the road stuff, you're going to be doing a little bit of running, biking, but you're also going to be doing some lifting. And it's imperative that you can keep your body in a good position while you're doing these lifts, because if you can't, that's how we get injured. So very much the same thing for those who want to be in the strongman competition. For those who want to be able to move heavy weights, if you don't have the muscular endurance to keep your midline and your core engaged while you're trying to move heavy weight, you're not moving any heavy weight. So muscular endurance is important for everybody. To be sure though, it's good to have a good base of aerobic fitness because it's good for the most important muscle in your body, your heart. But we're focusing on the people in the middle of the road who just want that good all-around fitness. What does an actual endurance workout look like during your training cycle? Time out. If you're erring on the side of more endurance, you're probably going to have more days on the track or running or biking in the seat than you are going to have in the gym. And that's perfectly fine if that's what you're trying to accomplish. But especially if you're in an off season or if you are tapering towards an event, you still want to do some resistance training because it's good to help keep your body very strong and very healthy. Let's get back. So what's the first thing we need to do? We need to warm up. If you haven't watched that video, go to our YouTube channel, look up DIY Workouts Part 3, and be sure to familiarize yourself with that one. Next, we're gonna have a strength or a primary lift or something along those lines. And this is typically a multi-joint activity. Most of your foundational lifts are multi-joint exercises. So we're talking bench press, deadlift, squat, shoulder press, the Olympic lifts. All of these are multi-joint activities and they require a lot of energy, especially if you're trying to maintain that tension across your entire body and create all that good muscular endurance to make sure that we can stay upright and stay tight. Next, we have our accessory work. In the CrossFit world, we call this our WOD, the workout of the day. And this should be something that complements what you did during the strength, something that helps make the muscles that you've already worked a little bit more tired and a little bit more fatigued so that we're actually making them stronger and helping them to grow. We'll get to some examples of that here in just a little bit. And then we have our cash out or our cool down. We call it a cash out in the CrossFit world, but it's just basically an activity to help you. It should still complement what you've been doing for the day. It might be a stretch. It might be a low impact activity. Anything to help you come back down to a relative normal. Now let's go ahead and let's put some actual numbers to this bad boy. So of course we have our warm up. You do a stretch, an activation, and an integration. All right, now let's go ahead and just take a squat, for example. We're going to use this as our primary lift because this is applicable for no matter what you want to do in your training world. So in this example, we have 8 sets of 10 reps at 40% of your 1 rep max with a 1-minute rest period. If you don't know what any of those numbers mean, don't worry, we're gonna go over that here in just a little bit. This is tough. 8 sets at 10 reps at basically a moderate weight, that's gonna be really tough. If you've never lifted in your life before, think about it like this. If you have a 100-pound 1 rep max on a back squat, meaning you put that bar on your back, you squat and you come up and you just barely make it up, that is your 1 rep max, which means 40% is gonna be 40 pounds. You're going to essentially do 8 rounds of 10 reps with 40 pounds on your back, and then you're only gonna give yourself up to a minute rest, maybe less than that. We do that, we're getting nice and wore out, we move on, and we're gonna do our accessory work, or our WOD. So in this scenario, we're gonna do hamstring curls, 3 rounds, 15 reps at a light weight. Then we're gonna do leg extensions, 3 rounds, 15 reps at another light weight, and then calf raises, 3 rounds, 20 reps. Cash out, or a cool down. So what we're gonna do is a 3-minute glute bridge. We've already used our hips, we've already used our glutes for the squats. We're gonna go ahead and just finish it off with a good glute bridge. Just 3 minutes, hold it as long as you can. If you can do it without stopping, fantastic. But that's the idea. It's a low impact activity to help me get back down to a relative normal. Now, let's go ahead and revisit this whole lightweight business. What does that mean? Think about it like this. Let me back up just a second. If you have 3 rounds of 15 reps, those last 5 reps ought to be pretty stinking saucy. If you're doing a hamstring curl and let's say you're on the prone one and you're just curling those feet up, it's an awkward angle. If you're curling your legs up and you get through the first 10 reps, and they're kind of easy, but then 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 just get harder and harder and harder, then that's the right weight. If you can do 15 without stopping and it's super easy, you've got the wrong weight. That's going to be different for everybody. Some people are just naturally stronger, so they're going to need a heavier weight. And some people have some room to grow, and so they're going to need to start lighter. And that's perfectly fine. It's all good so long as it's challenging to you. Same thing. If we go and look at our squats, if we have 8 sets, 10 reps, if you don't have a 1 rep max, then you just want to pick a weight where basically 8, 9, and 10 are very challenging, both because we're keeping our form and everything really tight and really controlled, but also because the weight is appropriate and we're getting a full range of motion. Remember, there's a hierarchy of needs when it comes to your exercise. You have to get as many muscles engaged as possible. This is muscular endurance, keeping everything as tight as possible to maintain good form. And then we get that range of motion. We're talking full range of motion. This is one where a lot of people get messed up and they try to jump the gun too soon. Like, I'm close enough. And they move on to that top tier, which is adding weight. Don't worry about adding weight until you have your foundation set. Otherwise, you're going to get into a pickle real fast. So when you're choosing your light weight, you want to pick a weight that is appropriate for the prescription. And we've already kind of dabbled on what's a 1 rep max. It's the max weight that you can move for 1 rep. And the idea is you can use a 1 rep max to get some percentages so that you have some easier reference points whenever you're doing your workouts. You can get away with a workout and not know your 1 rep max. That's not a big deal so long as you use that guideline we talked about. The last 3 to 5 reps ought to be pretty stinking tough. And that's pretty much the gist of how a typical day in an endurance training cycle is going to look if you're spending that particular day working on some resistance training. For example, you might be doing a training schedule where you have 3 days in the weight room and 2 days on the track or on the bike or on the rower, in which case everything we went over is going to pertain to what we're doing in the weight room with our resistance training. There's going to be a whole nother part where you need to focus on, okay, well, today I need to row this many miles, or I need to bike this far at this cadence. And if that's something that you need to hash out, it's beyond the scope of this video. We're just trying to keep it simple in a nutshell, specifically for resistance training, because resistance training makes every athlete better, no matter what sport you're doing. And so that's what we're focusing on. If you need more specific guidance for that type of training, get in contact with us. We can help you figure out a plan that's going to work for you, that's going to help you progress safely, but also help you make the appropriate steps to help you move faster, move more efficiently, safer, and constantly progressing. Okay. That was quite a bit of information. The next video, we're going to go over hypertrophy. So be on the lookout for that one, gang, and be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you haven't done so already. I'll see you next time.